Hi everyone, it's Phil here from Ashland Leather, and today I'm with the co-founder of Ashland Leather, Dan Cordova. Got a bunch of special wallets that we're going to go over together. Well, before we get into this, I actually have a special surprise for you that we didn't talk about.
Are we gonna drink?
Do you want a drink?
Sure.
Here you go. Nice. Cheers. Happy
Cheers.
anniversary. 10-year anniversary, starting on Friday. We've got 20-something things that are all incredible special products. So I asked Dan to pick out one of his favorite wallets from the batch that's going to be coming up Friday, and I picked out one for myself. I feel like a lot of the stuff that we're going to be launching and we're going to look at in the video are things that we've never done before.
Sure.
Everything we've done has been because we love the look of the leather, the feel of the leather, the smell of it, and the way it wears in. So I wanted to show you, I guess we're going to go over Dan's favorite wallets here first. So what do you say about this one, Dan?
I really love how the texture looks on that one. You don't find shells, or a lot of shells that have that in there. So out of thousands of shells, you'll get like 3 or 4.
You're talking about this sort of texture here, that sort of tiger look. That's not something that you can control at the tannery.
No, they just come out like that. Had a few of those that I was waiting for a special occasion to cut up.
You found it.
And
you only had to wait for 10 years.
Right. People might notice there that the logo is different. So for this 10-year run, we changed up the logo a little bit. That's X, which is 10 and Roman numerals. And Ashland, it says Ashland, and on the bottom it says 10th anniversary.
What I thought was cool about the X is we took the same sort of concept for the A for Ashland. That's sort of like a hand-drawn look, and it's kind of hard to make an X look hand-drawn, but that's why it's like kind of irregular looking. And I think the irregularity, sort of hand-drawn look of the original A logo the idea was to make it emblematic of what we do. We were handcrafting these things. I mean, I thought you were going to say about the interior of this.
I was gonna get there too.
Okay.
The interior is all natural shell. The interior needs to be very thin for this model of wallet because of all the layers.
Yeah.
And thin shells are also hard to come by too. So I'm not a big fan of splitting shell.
Yeah, the way I always like to describe it is it's kind of like when you thin down the leather, it's kind of like taking out the foundation of your house or something.
Exactly. That's exactly. Yeah, because you have all these fibers that are interlocking, and you cut those out. What do you have left?
Strength. And that's where we noticed. It's part of the reason we started doing this 10 years ago. Is we noticed a lot of wallets were ripping, where they would skive down the edges and turn them. And that's where you see most wallets fail, is on a turned edge, especially in a corner. You'll see just the leather get ripped away because it's nothing to it. It's like a little piece of paper.
Everything that was tanned into the leather is still there, whereas opposed to if you just split it out.
Yeah, and we also we do mostly just waxed and burnished edges, so we don't do any turned edges on this Johnny the Fox. But you kind of nailed it. The thin shells are, I mean, you know better than me, but the thin shells are so rare. That's why seeing a natural shell, like a rare shell color, with a Johnny the Fox interior, this one is mind-blowing to me, so I'm really happy that you chose this. Let me show the other one that you chose, because for some reason, you didn't want to follow the direction of just pick your favorite one. But
I couldn't. I had to pick 2 of these.
This one has a great story, too.
Yeah, so this is violet. This is kind of, it's not a new color to Horween, but it's a new color to us. We did the ultraviolet before, and we've done the magenta. So this is a little bit more on the purple shade.
I noticed the UV's like a little bit more red, like a little bit more pink almost. This is like a true purple.
Yeah, this is more of a true purple. And I don't know how I ended up with one shell that I brought here, and everybody loved it. Like, we're going crazy over it, and just kept on asking me to bring more. And eventually I was able to put an order in and get some more of these shells in here.
And tell me about
for the exterior.
This side, because this is the first time that I've seen this.
Yeah, that's never before. We've never done that before, and that's kind of one of the Skip Horween's mad scientist experiments, which a lot of times end up beautiful, like this one. So he just basically, come to realize that a lot of people like the random dye marks that you see on the reverse, So he's like, well, I'm just going to run these inverted. So this side is actually the
This is
shell
the shell
side.
side.
Yeah. Which gives it a very smooth, very nice feel.
You know what? You can't see it here, but if you were to flip these card holders backwards, it's just straight up purple.
Yeah.
So this is as if it was run upside down.
It was, that's why, we're calling it inverted shell.
Inverted is what?
Inverted.
Okay, cool. That's a new term for me. Man, I love this one. Let me show off the one that I chose. It's one of those things over 10 years you see a lot of different leathers, but every now and then there's like, actually it seems to happen kind of frequently for me where I get one that's like, oh man, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I seem to get that most times we do private stock stuff. And I took all the photos for the 10-year event today, and just about everything in here was one of those, like a mind blower that I've never seen before. But this one is really interesting. I picked this one because Fat Herbie was the first wallet that we launched when we did the company in 2011. And I like this one because it's sort of backwards from what we normally do. So we flipped the shell on the exterior here to show off the reverse side and then show off the ink stamp, which I love looking at the ink stamp. It seems like a lot of people are really into the ink stamp. And the other thing that's kind of new for us was people started to notice this stamp here. And this is a stamp that Horween puts on every piece of leather that they ship out. And this is the stamp that comes from their measuring machine. So the measuring machine will put Horween USA, the area of the leather. So this says 1.6 square feet. And then it has the date that this was measured. So it looks like April 9th. And who knows what year it was.
It was this year.
Yeah, but I also love how reverse shell wears in. And this is like a really interesting light color. The shell side of this is what I like. There's something about this interior, and we see it on the tall Tonys and the tall Herbies, where you get this continuous look of the same leather throughout the inside that I just think is like really special looking. In fact, I've been wearing, I don't know if I showed you this, but I've been wearing this tall Herbie, and this is the Pit Tan Horse Front M's Chrome XL. So there's something magical about that clean interior and exterior on this one. So I love the Fat Herbie. It's our first wallet. And then there's something incredible about this, the look of this one.
Yep.
The other thing that's special is this leather. Tell me how you came across this, because this is a color I've never seen before.
Well, you might not see it again. This was kind of one of those happy accidents where we're trying to make bourbon, but it ended up a little bit too dark. So there were some shells that we couldn't really ship as bourbon that Skip offered me. He's like, hey, are you interested in these? I'm like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean,
So
as I look at this, you can kind of see the essence. If you've seen enough bourbon shells, you can see the essence of what they were going for here, where there's those lighter, more like golden undertones in here. It's just the surface is so much darker. But yeah, so to me, this is a special piece.
But that's how like some colors get invented. You do one by accident, and then later you're trying to reproduce it, and everybody loves it. We got to reproduce it.
So I loved this Herbie, and this one also kind of represents to me now what kind of relationship that we have with Horween. Obviously, you still work at the tannery, but I've been out of there for years. But this, it gives me the sense that I'm still at the tannery, because every now and then you'll come up with a color mistake like this, or something that you weren't intending to do, and then we just buy it. Every now and then Skip will say, hey, I made a batch of shells or a batch of Dublin that we didn't really have a home for. So we buy it from them, and that's, I think, that special relationship, including this. What did you call this again?
Inverted.
The inverted shell here. This is something that Skip's just trying out with. That relationship that we have with Skip and the tannery, and you working at the tannery, is magical for me. Making the wallets is because we just get an opportunity to do special stuff, and I love that. It makes me excited to.
I mean, we wouldn't exist without like us working at Horween. We wouldn't exist as a company.
Well, what do you say we keep going down through some of the other stuff? These are all things that, again, they're going to be launching on the website Friday. And this one here, why don't you tell me what you see?
That is a marbled color 8. Color looks pretty consistent. We have some shells that show like a big contrast. That one looks pretty solid.
A little bit more subtle.
It's really nice.
Check the inside out, though.
Love it.
Did you see this one yet?
No, I haven't.
I don't know. I'm going to call this Psychedelic Cigar, because I don't know what. It's kind of like the Psychedelic, where you get these random sort of drippy pooling of dye, but it's purely in a brown shade. So I'm going to go with Psychedelic Cigar.
Cigar, nice.
That is It's awesome. And then we hand glaze this too to give it that nice bit of sheen to it. So it's not as bright and shiny as the shell, but the hand glazing does give you a little bit of a sheen. This is sort of how the leather wants to wear in just sort of naturally. And that's a beautiful Herbie. Check this one out. I think we're also calling this psychedelic, but it's different than the psychedelic we saw before. So I'm gonna preempt you a little bit here, because we did the Psychedelic Shell Cordovan about 3 or 4 months ago, and we only had 3 shells, I believe. And
Yeah.
the response that everybody gave us was just insane for the psychedelic. Everybody wanted a piece of psychedelic, and we only had 3 shells. So the day that we launched that, and I got the response, I messaged Skip and told him that people are really into it. I've never seen a response like we've had for the psychedelic shells. And he said, you know what, I don't know how to do it, but I'm going to figure it out because I like it too. And I think this is one of the trials that he's done to get the psychedelic. It's super cool. This one in particular, because it's got those 2 tones that are not overlapped, I think is remarkable. Really cool. And then it's sitting on one of my favorite shell colors. This is color 4 shell. Check out the inside. So this is from the same shell as the outside, but a little bit less green on the right, and you get a little bit more green on the left. So what we did was we played with that for the hidden card slots on this. Put a green hidden card slot here.
I cut a wash strap that kind of, I think you posted it on Instagram. Mm-hmm. I wonder if it's out of that same shell.
Yeah, this is remarkable. This is, I don't know, there's something magical about that one too. Like I said, everything in here is kind of magical. Let's move on to this one too. We did something like this before, but tell me what this is. Have you seen this?
Yeah, I saw it. It's all reverse English tan.
Yeah, and the reason that we did this before, we've had people that really like that measuring machine stamp, and the only way to show the measuring machine stamp is to show the flesh side, the reverse side of the Dublin, or essentially any leather, because they're measuring it for the grain side, and that stamping from the measuring machine just pops onto the flesh. So the only way to show it is to flip it backwards, and that's what this one is. We're just like really leaning into that, but that's really cool. And then the flesh side of this Dublin, it's not how it naturally appears. We actually fill it in with a little bit of a resin coat and sort of iron it smooth. But people are really into this measuring machine stamp. I think the digital, to be honest with you, I think the digital parts are kind of weird. I think this is cool, but it certainly makes it unique.
Yep.
And then the inside, actually, I was pretty happy with this. You know, it's almost like the wax flesh Chrome Excel. Would you say? Similar?
Yeah, it's similar.
It's cool. It looks nice. Check this one out too. Tell me about this one.
That is a lizard print. Again, when we were making these, I was trying to cut different things that we haven't seen. Or have we done the lizard print before?
We've done the lizard print, but not with this combo. There's a few things on here we haven't done.
That's the reverse.
The lizard print on reverse black.
Lizard print on reverse black, and then we have a lizard printed card holder and a reverse one.
Yep, and then all the edges are hand stained black, and we waxed and burnished them. I brought over a bunch more wallets. Why don't you tell me about this one? I think this is a special piece of Chrome Excel that most people don't see.
Yeah, this is actually, it's called Plainsman Chrome Excel, which is, Plainsman is the full grain version of Chrome Excel, which I think you've gotten into, like, well, full grain is and corrected grains.
You know, it's
and
kind
polished
of
grains.
like the M's, isn't it? But like stuffed a little differently and pit tanned. I guess it's way different.
Yeah,
It's
this is exactly Chrome Excel, except for it's full grain. So it didn't get polished. You know, the grain is full grain.
Yeah, and let me give you a close-up here, because a lot of people don't really know what I mean when I say grain, but if you look really closely here, you can see these very tiny, small hair holes, and that's the grain. When you leave it full grain, that means you're not affecting the grain layer at all, and you retain this character that you see, that sort of textured character, whereas a standard piece of Chrome Excel, we don't have any here, is more polished and smooth looking. You don't see as much of this sort of textured look. So I'd say that the full grain stuff is just like a little bit more natural in appearance.
It is, and actually this is pretty smooth for a full grain. We can probably show like an example where it's really more pronounced, but that is the full grain version of Chrome Excel, which is called Plainsman.
Well, let's look at the other the other Plainsman wallet here. This is a Capone money clip in the natural Plainsman Chrome Excel. Is this horse or steer hide?
That's steer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably why we don't see it as the horse hides have like a very pronounced grain, especially if they're pasted Chrome Excel. They tend to be really dramatic as far as grain character. The steer hides are just like a little bit more refined, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the color of the natural Plainsman here. It's like a nice light. It's a little bit more lively than some of the natural, like regular natural Chrome Excel. Like sometimes I feel like that color doesn't have enough like vibrance to it or something. And this one has like a nice bit of life to it.
Yep.
That's nice. All right. Did you cut this one? This might have been a mere special creation.
This one, no, I don't think I did this one.
Well, so this is, I like this a lot. This is one of my favorites from the batch that we're putting up today. Black shell, and this is raw violet, and that's really neat. And so we've got raw violet on the other side on the left. This one has a black clip too. But what's really cool is you have that raw violet on the inside also, and I've never seen that before. I don't think we've ever done raw violet. It turned out great.
No. When we did these other violet shells, I left some of them raw just to have the contrast for when we make the wallets.
Yeah, this one's great. Check this out though. What is it? Inverted? Is this what
Inverted, yeah.
Inverted violet shell? Is that what this is?
Yep.
That's so crazy.
Inverted violet shell on magenta.
Yeah, so magenta for these top pieces.
Yeah. Actually, no, I think that might be, no, it is magenta.
And the magenta, we don't see a lot of it. It's kind of like pink and lighter than the UV.
It's kind of the same concept as the color 4 and the color 8, where they're like the same, but one has, goes through a couple more times.
I feel like magenta is like the perfect word for it. It's like very pinkish purple. And this is more of that too. Inverted shell with the violet stain. God, that's cool. So interesting to see it for me without the reverse side of the shell.
Yeah, and this one's going to be hard to judge on camera, but feeling it's just so
super
amazing.
Yeah. This is cool too. So this is what we were talking about earlier. We were talking about inverted shell. So you're seeing the shell side here. Usually when you see these kind of dye marks, you see that on the reverse side of the shell, but this time we're done it inverted. So if you look at the inside center, this is the side that they actually finished.
Right.
And this is technically the non-shell side, what we normally call the reverse side of the shell, and it's a little bit more grainy. Let me give you a close-up of this one too, because you can really see the texture difference from the shell side of the violet shell card holders here with that sort of grainy reverse side in the center. And look at the back. So this is what we normally see is very textured, but because it's inverted, it's super, super smooth. This is really cool, this box.
Yeah, it is.
Or what do you see here? What's this guy?
It looks like a little bit of a psychedelic, but I only see 2 colors there. There I see a lot of colors.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like a psychedelic magenta or something with a measuring machine stamp on the left. That's really neat. And I think this is also psychedelic here for the middle piece, the bill slot. And the inside, this is what's super cool is we were talking about that continuous look, and you got the continuous look here of a psychedelic shell that is even more psychedelic than the first time they did it. I think there's something interesting with this pink and green, and there's a little bit of purple in there too.
Yep.
That's really neat. All right, check this one out. What do you call this?
That's reverse color 8.
This has this like so much red.
Yeah.
Like usually you don't see like a full coverage of a reverse side.
Yeah,
like
I remember those shells. They were kind of like dipped, and a good percentage of them were covered like that.
Super cool. And then the inside, this is actually hand glazed, it seems. This might be what we were calling the Dexter shells for the left and right here.
I don't think so. I think maybe this part is, because I remember this, but those
might be
I don't think those are a part of this group, but those have like this really blood drippy look to them.
It's super cool.
That is ultraviolet, 100%.
Yeah.
Johnny the Fox.
And this is the first time we've ever done this before for the 10-year. So we've never had we've never had an ultraviolet interior before. So for me, this is like really special to see because I know how rare this is.
Yeah, I've been kind of like sorting through the shells downstairs and trying to pick out the thinnest ones that we could use for this launch.
Because people don't understand that ultraviolet shell is like a rare color that Horween doesn't often produce, and then the thin shells are also rare, so it's like exponentially rare to find a thin, rare shell color like this here. So this is an Amaretto Shell. I'm going to talk about this one.
That's your favorite color?
My favorite color. I love Amaretto Shell. It's beautiful, and it has a really dramatic color range, so some angles it's like more brown and red, and then other angles it's like a little bit more yellow and orange, and I think it's just so beautiful. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, I almost want to keep all of these. Use one every day.
I mean, this should be part of our collection. But this is an Amaretto Shell for the inside. If you look at the card holders, this is a good demo for the directionality in the shells, because some of these card holders at certain angles look lighter than other angles, and this is another one of those things that like I'm just so glad to see it, because I don't think we've ever done an Amaretto Shell interior for Johnny the Fox. And we do have 3 more Foxes with shell interiors that we've never done before. So what do you got here? I think this was the one you were marveling at.
That is
awesome.
color 4.
Yeah, you were right. Yeah, this is color 4.
Same thing,
sure.
100% Johnny the Fox. Same story as Amaretto, thin shells on the inside. Don't have a lot of these. I think we made
5 of each of them.
5 of each color.
Yeah. God, that's awesome. That's really a really good look. Let's look at this. Might be a good chance to compare the color 4 in my right hand and the garnet in my left. So the color 4 is roughly twice as dark.
Yeah, this has it looks a little redder.
Yeah, and the garnet also has that sort of directionality where some angles, like I notice it gets a little orange almost, but it's definitely like a reddish brown.
Yeah, I love garnet. I think it's kind of, to me, kind of an underrated color.
It's nice. It's a little raisin cherry-ish.
But some of my personal stuff that I carry around is on garnet, because I think it's such a beautiful color, and the way it ages, it's
you can buy this
really
one.
Nice. So I get a discount.
I took some photos of this wallet earlier today. This is probably the best looking photo I've ever taken, and I'll show you after we're done here. But
denim?
This is 100% denim shell. Check that out.
That's so nice.
I think we would be able to, if we could actually make these consistently, we'd be able to just like retire early. But
well, now that you said that, I think you gave me some motivation.
Like just get some more thin, rare shells. If only it was that easy. And I think the other thing is you got to remember, we've been collecting this leather for 10 years. So this is 10 years of collecting all these things to sort out for the thin pieces. And that's the only way we're able to do this, is just from buying shells for so long, getting those rare pieces. Yep. But this one is remarkable. We have one more fox to look at, and then a long wallet.
Just to back up on what you said right now, like
you talk so I can drink.
So sometimes you'll have like a full shell, and there might be a piece that is thin enough to cut one pocket. So you kind of feel around with your hand, like, oh, this piece is really thin, so I'll cut one pocket, and then out of the next shell, you might have enough to cut 2 of these guys. So it's not a thin shell; it's kind of like sections of multiple different shells.
Right.
That might be thin enough to make a nice Johnny the Fox wallet.
Like if you envision a shell, they're that oval shape.
Yeah.
And there'd only be like a little crescent moon of
exactly.
like of a section that is thin enough to cut.
Yeah. So I'm always, when I'm cutting the other models, I'm always trying to keep an eye out for that. I'm like, oh, this piece is really thin, so I'm going to cut it into one pocket. So at some point, I have enough to make one wallet.
Well, that's why when we first started making the Johnny Fox, it was probably like 8 or 9 years ago. Yeah. That's why we made it with this here. This is a special thin horsehide in a black color, and this is a leather called Latigo, and this is about as thin as it gets. And we had Horween make this to be as strong as possible, as thin as possible, and to have really good aging characteristics. I love the Latigo leather, and this one is perfect. But on the outside here, check this out. This is raw denim shell. We were just looking at the denim. I know this is a good comparison. So when you polish this raw denim, it starts to look darker, like this here. And it give you a good sense, maybe more from the interior, which looked a little bit lighter. but that's really cool. So these are also $100 less expensive because we don't have to have shell for the interior,
Right.
which is why we originally started doing it. We thought there's not a whole lot of people that are going to want to buy $300 wallets, so let's make it with the horsehide. And the last piece here, this is a long wallet, and I love the long wallets for the extra large context. But what is this color?
It looks like some kind of psychedelic ultraviolet.
Like a Skip Mad Scientist experiment here. Super cool. It sort of ranges a little bit magenta to the ultraviolet. It's got sort of got both colors.
Yeah, you're right. Like right here, looks more magenta. Up here, a little darker.
Forget the inside though. Oh, this is a good one to end it on.
Nice.
Cordovan USA.
That's
This is the
perfect.
measured
Perfect
machine
placement
stamp.
there.
Did you cut this one?
I did not cut that one.
This is the first time you've seen this.
I think I cut 90% of these, but I didn't cut this one.
This one's beautiful. I think Lupe made this one. It's beautiful. And then, reverse psychedelic on the right, and then psychedelic on the left on the shell side. So this
yeah.
is like a remarkable long wallet. Probably should have picked this as my favorite, but all of them are so special. And like I said, everything's going to be available on the site for Friday. We're going to do this every Friday for July to celebrate the
Our 10
leather,
year.
to celebrate Ashland, celebrate 10 years. So this is probably one of the craziest wallets we've ever done, which I think is symbolic of what the 10-year celebration is all about. And thanks for doing this with me, Dan. Thanks for cutting all these too, or many of them.
No problem.
And why don't we do
Thanks
a
for doing all the
toast?
videos.
We have a couple hundred videos, I think, now. I'll toast you for 10 years. Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
And everybody that I can see through this camera, thank you guys so much. I encourage you to pick up some of these wallets too, because they're really special. If you're into the leather, perhaps as much or more than we are, these are really special pieces. And I'm even more excited to maybe you can do this again with me for the following Fridays, where we launch more of these things, because we even have more special stuff to come.
Yeah.
So thanks again, man, and happy anniversary one more time.
Thank
Boom.
you, and thank you guys. I wanted to be a part of this video just to say thank you personally too.